James from the CTRL+LISTEN Podcast, brought to you by Octopart. Today we have some very special guests for you. I'm here with my co-host Nora firstly, but we have Karthik, Kannan, and Vanessa. They are here from Envision, which is a really fantastic company working in it's AI tech, but through vision-based technology to help low vision and blind people actually navigate the world. And it's fantastic that they're doing this, so we're really happy to talk to them. Thanks for coming on the show today.
Yeah, thank you for having us, James and Nora. Yeah.
Thanks.
Great. So just before we start, Karthik, you're one of the co-founders, right?
Yeah, I'm one of the co-founders of Envision.
And how did you sort of have the idea to create something like this?
Yeah, sure. I think the idea, both me and my co-founder, we don't have people in our lives who are blind or low vision. Like rest of the world, I think, we were completely oblivious to accessibility, to how people with visual disabilities lead lives and so on. But it all changed when me and my co-founder went to give a talk at this school in India. So this was actually a school for people who are blind and low vision, and the topic that we were called to talk upon was what exactly was it, what did it mean to be a designer or an engineer, right? Because the school was basically it was full of high school students who were just going to be passing out of high school, going into college and into the real world, and a lot of them were not very clued into what were the possibilities, what kind of vocational possibilities existed outside of the usual engineer and doctor kind of a thing that you have in India. And so when we went there, when we just told them that a researcher or a designer is just somebody who solves problems for a living, right? It was supposed to be a 30-minute talk, just peppered with a couple of questions here and there. I think one of the questions that I asked was, what kind of problems would you like to solve when you grow up? Because, I was just telling these kids that, being a researcher or a designer is just, waking up in the morning and going through a to-do list of problems to solve. And hopefully at the end of the to-do list, you are onto something useful for society as a whole, right? So, when I asked the question about what these kids would like to do when they grow up, I expected something along the lines of going out and colonizing Mars, or curing cancer, or usually when you talk to high school students, they're just so full of possibilities, right? It's just they have this very idealistic vision of the world. So I was expecting something like that, but the answers that I got were just remarkably different. It was things like being able to go out more independently, being able to live independently, being able to read a book independently. So it was all these mundane things, and it was at that moment that it actually hit me and my co-founder that these kids would spend a huge chunk of their lives trying to overcome some of the most basic hurdles that sighted people take for granted, right? Just mundane existential work that they will have to like overcome over and over again, and that's something that deeply bothered us, because being a researcher and designer, we were supposed to be the people out there looking to solve problems, and this seemed like a problem that should be solved. And it was also around that time, coincidentally, that artificial intelligence was starting to really take off, right? We were in at a time when a lot of advances in artificial intelligence, even 7 years ago, in certain areas like being able to read text or being able to detect objects in an environment, AI was outperforming humans in these tasks. And so what we thought was, okay, we could use artificial intelligence as a bridge between the world as it is and the world as it should be. So we realized very early on that we can't expect the world to become accessible overnight. It's impractical to expect us to put a braille display on every single piece of information out there in the world. And here is this remarkable technology that takes that doesn't expect the world to change. That all it requires is an image, and with some clever tricks, we'll be able to pull out as much information as possible from those images. So that was the genesis for Envision. That was the very beginning, and we've been on that journey ever since for the last 6 7 years, building tools that help people with a visual impairment to live more independently using artificial intelligence.
Wow.
That's fantastic.
And what tools existed before? What was like the status quo for people that suffer from low vision?
Well, they were all tools of the 19th or the early 20th century. So, for example, let's take being able to read text. Before, artificial intelligence and Envision came on the scene, people had to really work with these huge, bulky scanners that would cost anywhere between $3,000 to $5,000 that, you had to put on a desk and you had to connect
Mm,
to, a power source, and you
mm,
can't really carry it around, and it wasn't versatile. It was just very basic stuff that could read printed documents, like a brochure and all that. So it couldn't read things like handwritten text, and it couldn't read languages other than the usual Latin languages and things like that, right? So it was bulky, it was super expensive, and it just did one thing. If you wanted to be able to go out and read your signs in the shop, you had to buy a completely different device for that, and hope and pray it worked, right? So you were
mm.
basically having this arsenal of tools that were overpriced and just were completely clunky to use, and people had to put up with that. So that was what it was. In fact, I keep telling people that a lot, uh, uh, people in the blind and low vision community are expected to do 21st century work with 19th century tools, right? That's
Wow.
basically what the status quo was before artificial intelligence came on board.
Wow.
And can you explain a little bit about how your tech works? What are the features? How does it operate?
Sure. So Envision is basically just a suite of tools that you can think of as a Swiss Army knife kind of a thing, right? So we have a tool that helps people read text, for example. And when I say read text, you could read text of any surface, could be a curved surface, could be a flat surface. You can read text on a printed document. You could read a digital display like an ATM machine or a computer monitor. You could read text in over 100 different languages, including handwritten text in all those 100 different languages. You can feed it any type of document in the world. Could be a magazine article, a newspaper article, like a timetable or a menu card, and the glasses and the app will be able to read it, right? So that's one thing Envision does. The other thing is, being able to recognize objects in your surroundings. You could be outside. The glasses will be able to tell you what object it is and where it is and how far it is. You could use it to detect, people's faces. You could go ahead and use it to ask questions of the documents you just scanned. You could use it to detect color, currency. It's about 15 different things you could do with Envision. And the way people prefer to use Envision is through the Envision glasses, right? So that's because people just wear the glasses on their face. If people watching the video can actually look at Vanessa, she's actually wearing a pair of Envision glasses right now. And the glasses basically have a camera on the right hand side which captures images around you, and then there's artificial intelligence that literally runs on the glasses that help extract information from those images people take, and then there is a speaker on board the glasses that speak out the information to the person, right? So it's basically converting the visual world into audio, right? And we work today with every type of visual information there is in the world, be it text, objects, faces, currency, color, and so on, right? So that's basically what Envision is. And Envision is also available as a smartphone app. And so for people who can't afford to use the glasses, or don't want to use the glasses, they can always use the Envision app. It's a completely free app that we built. It doesn't have all the features of the Envision glasses, but it has around 80% of it, and it does a great job at all the things I just described. So these are the two ways that people use Envision, and that's basically a brief description of what it does as well.
I have a question about how does the AI mitigate subjectivity? And for instance, like if I'm wearing the glasses and I'm looking at something like a drawing with a mauve circle, how does it know that it's that color? Because like blue or purple, that's
Yeah.
a color that humans often like. Well, that's blue. Actually, no, that's purple. Like how does the AI
Distinguish.
distinguish between things that humans often misinterpret, or it's up to the individual?
Yeah, no, that's a great question actually. So there are two parts to this, right? One is a very specific thing to colors. Colors are notoriously one of the most difficult things to crack in computer vision, because colors, like how humans perceive colors, depends so much on lighting. If you have an
Hmm.
overhead lighting on a blue image, it looks almost mauve, and if you have something of from a different angle, it looks purple, and so on, right? And just like how we humans get tripped up, cameras and computer vision is no this one either. So it basically doesn't get colors very easily, unless it's on a digital screen. So if you're sending a screenshot of
Ah,
of a UI to Envision and ask it to describe it, then it gets the colors right, because there's no subjectivity there, right? It just knows
yeah.
that this is it. But if you're capturing an image from a camera, then it does become tricky for the glasses to handle. And for that matter, pretty much any tool out there that recognizes color just on the basis of visuals, it gets very tricky to do that. And on the other hand, with subjectivity in other areas of computer vision, for example, let's say you're trying to scan a handwritten note, and if God forbid, you have to scan a handwriting like mine, which is just outright horrible, right? Sometimes you read the R's as P's and N's as M's and so on, right? So it doesn't get it right. And at that time, what we do is we always give people the option to call a human being and get a more I would say nuanced opinion on what actually is going on, right?
Mm,
There is a very, very nice feature in the glasses. Actually, one of the most popular features is not the AI features, it's actually a feature called Call an Ally, where you can actually make
mm,
a video call directly from the glasses to a friend or a family member. And it is precisely made for such situations where you don't know whether the AI is actually leading you on the right direction or not. Or sometimes the AI just flat out says, I can't help you with it, or I'm not able to give you the right answer. And people can bring a human, the glasses user can bring a friend or a family member or a trusted person in the loop and get feedback or get help immediately without having to reach out for their phone and things like that, right?
wow.
So these are the
So
two ways
the
we work with this.
so Ally is basically a feature on the glasses that you press and it calls one person in your
Yeah.
group, your inner circle. Wow, that's amazing. So it's basically like a shortcut for support.
Yeah, it's like a FaceTime on the glasses, right? That's how you can
Wow.
think of it.
Yeah.
You want to just you can add any person as an ally, as a contact, friend, or a family member. Could be a colleague, could be anybody, and they're always available in your contact list. And at any point in
Mm,
time, if you're stuck outside or need some help, from a human being, you can just straight up hit the button and say, hey, I'd like to go ahead and talk to a friend, or talk to this person or that person, and the glasses just places a call directly. As long as the internet is available, the glasses can just place a call, and people can
wow.
actually ask questions. Yeah, yeah.
Um, and how does the AI read other humans? So if I'm encountering Vanessa when she's wearing the glasses and I look forlorn or I look excited, like how is the AI gonna interpret that? Or because that's also really subjective too.
True. That's also been one of the big holy grails in computer vision, is trying to better understand the nuances of human emotion. And that's something that I would say has, over the past couple of years at least, there's been tremendous progress on that front. If you asked me this question a couple of years ago, I would have just told you flat out that an AI can never come close to describing the complexity of a human emotion. But 2 years
Mm,
later, I've seen the remarkable progress, not just from the whole Chat GPT side of things, but also other companies or other developers working in this space and putting stuff out in the open. We've come quite some distance. Where AI does really well is in describing a person's physical characteristics, like what color is their hair, are they having a beard, what color are their eyes, and so on. It gets the physical characteristics of it really right. In terms of emotions, you know uh, pronounced emotions are very easy for AI to capture, right? If you're really giving me a nice white smile, then AI can actually understand that, oh, this is actually like a nice white smile, right? Whereas if it's a smirk or if it's something more subtle, then AI has a very difficult time picking it up. if from a visually impaired person's perspective, right, this is very important problem to solve, because for a lot of people, they're very interested in knowing what the other person is wearing and how they look like, and and so on, right? I think if it's especially someone who's a loved one, I think they'd like to know on any given day, what are they wearing, how does their hair look like, and try to get an idea of the person in front of them, right? Try to paint a picture with words. And on that front, AI has made remarkable progress over the last couple of years, and I can definitely say in the coming years it's just going to get more and more better. Right, I've seen some of the very early research in this area, and it's super promising. And we've also implemented a lot of that research wherever we can possibly back it up with proper data. We've implemented that within the Envision glasses as well.
Altium 365 lets you hold the fastest design reviews ever. Share your designs from anywhere and with anyone with a single click. It's easy. Leave a comment tagging your teammate and they'll instantly receive an email with a link to the design. Anyone you invite can open the design using a web browser. Using the browser interface, you're able to comment, mark up, cross-probe, inspect, and more. Comments are attached directly to the project, making them viewable within Altium Designer, as well as through the browser interface. Give it a try and get started with Altium 365 today.
And Vanessa, as someone who is low vision and uses the glasses, how have they impacted your life?
Well, I think I'm kind of lucky because how do I put this? It's all glass half full, glass half empty, depending on how you look at it. I have around between 40 and 50% vision. In a lit room like this, I might be clumsy, but I'm okay. And I walk outside and it's now evening. I'm useless. I can't find anything. So for me, I still function pretty much, in a visual way. I don't really use new or special assistive technologies apart from the accessibility features that are built in. And I'm pretty much a Mac user. So all the zoom functions, I've got a giant cursor. If you could see my screen, it's like huge. I zoom everything in and I use that, and for now that's good, but in the future, I'll probably use screen readers and everything. When I use the vision glasses, I really do use them for when I get tired. With the Ask Envision feature that we now have, which is this GPT AI powered piece, which is super exciting. I always call it a virtual visual assistant. It's a bit of a mouthful, but it really helps. So, my scenarios and user cases, I think, are very similar to other people's. Go to a restaurant, you've got a huge menu card, and I'm squinting at the thing and looking at it. And I don't really want to be there for hours when everyone else has already decided. So I'll use the glasses with scan text, and then in scan text, I'll ask it to summarize if there's anything there that's got, whatever I'm feeling like, just tell me if there's something there that's got beetroot in, because I happen to love that, or if I feel like having some fish, or anything under sort of 20 euros, 20 pounds, whatever you are, or any desserts or something. Drinks menu's really handy, room me out the cocktails, that kind of thing. And then I use it at work as well, where I've got just a lot of documents to get through. And although I'm in the UK today, I'm normally based in the Netherlands, so is Karthik normally. That's our base. And I get tax bills through in Dutch, and I speak Dutch, but reading and writing it takes me so long. So I'll use Ask Envision to scan, again, I'll scan pages of my tax bill, which is never a nice thing to do. But what it will do is it will summarize that text for me. It will translate it into English. It will tell me how much I need to spend and what the deadline is, and if there's any contact information. So these new features for me are even more powerful because they're just time saving, and they can actually, and that's the thing of losing sight. Everything takes so much longer, at least for me. And, we're all busy, but, I work full time. We've got a lot going on in Envision, and I don't want to waste time with those kind of things and everything. And the video calling, the ally calling is cool. I do use it. The glasses work like 20/20 vision. So where, as I did, fully sighted person can function. Sometimes I can't. And, if I'm kind of getting stuck and getting a bit stressed, I might make a video call from the glasses. And I think the other thing is we've added clock orientation, which is, if you could imagine, just if you're not blind or low vision, you close your eyes and someone says to you, okay, the bed is over there, or the chair is over here behind you, or yeah, they don't say that. People say to you, oh, it's over there, or they don't actually give you a clear orientation. What you can now do is find the chair at 2 o'clock, or find the dog at 3 o'clock, or find your cane, or what, phones and things. So it's just really practical time saving stuff for me, I'll be honest with you. And I think they look quite cool as well.
Yeah.
I think so too.
Yeah, I guess I'm wondering how this technology has like affected how your friends and family can be allies for you. Like, has anyone around you heard what the glasses, how they're describing visual things around you, and been like, oh, that's how I should describe it to you? Or like, does it kind of like offer a template on how to best be an ally or assist a low vision person?
It can, but nothing beats real eyesight.
Sure.
There's context, there's information there. I think that's all like using the tech. It's also learning to give visual information to somebody who can't see. It takes practice. It takes honest feedback, So, there's actually a wonderful community of blind and low vision influencers, bloggers, just like, people who are sighted or hard of hearing, it doesn't matter. And there's a dark humor that goes with it, right? So, we kind of, and I kind of choose which side I want to be on the fence with, depending on the joke. But, that thing of, where's the pub? Oh, it's over there. It's like, okay, so tell me where over there. So, you ask a lot of questions. And so it's like with asking vision, if you ask it a lot of questions, you'll get the information. It may not be the first time, but you'll get the information, and it can surprise you as well. Where I live, I always have a view of where things are and what I'm doing. And suddenly it will give me a lot more information, which actually can be quite confronting, because you think you're seeing your world as it is, but actually you realize you're actually missing out stuff. And so personally, that for me was also quite just something to get used to, I guess. But again, I'm not a good user case because I'm in the middle, but for people who have no vision, this is a life changer. And there is actually today a lovely customer of ours, and he's a friend of Envision. He's one of our beta testers, called Wes. He's based in Canada, and he's on his way on a train right now to Toronto to do an interview for us. He loves his glasses, and he has told me he can sit on the train, and he was really emotional because he was using describe scene to tell him what was around him, and the colors and the descriptions were so rich for him that he never had that level of information. And he couldn't, he was really choked up. It was really beautiful. And Wes is kind of like a really technical kind of guy. He's quite, give me the information. But I could hear that this was some new level of information, and independence was just what we've been working for, really.
Wow.
That's great. We're kind of over time, but it's totally fine because, but there are just, Karthik, I know there was one topic you really wanted to talk about, which was the role of AI in a space of accessibility.
Yeah. No, I think, we've been talking about it more or less throughout the whole thing. I think Envision is a very good example of AI having a huge impact in the accessibility space. I think when we talk a lot about AI, especially today, it's more about along the veins of, it's going to be replacing humans. It's going to be used for X, Y, Z industrial use case. It's going to be used with drones. It's going to be, so there's a lot of topic around, chatter around AI, and it's positive effects overwhelmingly on areas like industrial applications and medical applications and so on. But I think the biggest, I would say, impact that AI has is in the area of accessibility, right? Just being able to say, take a piece of information and then pass it through an AI, and then all of a sudden that piece of information becomes accessible to someone who it wasn't accessible to earlier, right? And I'm not just talking about the vision space. There's huge advances that are happening in the areas of speech recognition, for example, which is really helping people with hearing loss deal with the world more easily, right? So I think AI more than any other industry, I would say AI has the biggest impact on accessibility, and it's going to open up a whole new world for people with disabilities than what the world was. I would say like 5 years ago. Right, I think in the next 5 years, we're going to see this tremendous explosion of productivity, of general well-being improvements for people with disabilities because of AI. That today, I think the general population doesn't really see that much, right? Because so much of the headlines is around sensational news. But I think AI is going to become sort of I would say probably the most important invention for people with disabilities, right? And for people in the accessibility space, or people working in assistive technology, AI is going to probably be like the dawn of electricity, right? That's what I truly
Wow.
believe in, and that's also the future that we are working towards at with Envision, right? To be that force majeure in the whole, for people with visual disabilities. And I know there are companies that are also working along the similar lines for people with other types of disabilities like hearing loss and so on. Yeah.
Yeah. I also
Great.
love that just, these conversations around technology are bringing issues about accessibility into the discourse, like into the public sphere, because, they're topics that should be talked about by everyone, not just specific people that, it affects.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, and it's there have been many areas of software, and the internet in the last 10, 15 years. Though there have been some improvements made with accessibility and making digital goods and products more accessible. I think we still have a long way to go. And again, there AI is going to play a huge role, because all of a sudden, with AI, you don't have to deal with pesky menu items and buttons and clicking and tapping and so on. You can have a normal, a natural conversation with it, just like how you and I are having one right now. And again, that will get rid of so many layers of complexity and craft for people with any kind of disability, that it's just going to be a world that's unimaginable. Like 5 years later, people are going to be like, wait, how did we actually, why did we have to put up with all that stuff, right? I mean, how did we even put up with that stuff? So that's what I think AI is going to be. And I think we're just grateful to play a part in it.
Last question for you before we wrap things up. Do you want to just tell people about the different tiers that you offer with the glasses, the different plans, I guess, or
Yeah,
models?
sure. So the Envision glasses, have three different editions. That's what we'd like to call it. The first is the Read edition, right? And the Read edition, retails at $1,899. And what it offers is basically offers the read functionality of the Envision glasses. So you're going to be able to read short pieces of text completely offline. You can go ahead and scan documents with it, or you can also scan like entire books with it, right? So you can scan multi-page documents or books with the glasses. So the read functionality is there for anybody who just wants to use the glasses primarily as a reading tool. Then there is the home edition of the glasses, right? Which basically offers people all the functionalities of the Envision glasses, right? And that retails for $24.99. And then there is the professional edition of the glasses, which offers all the functionality of the the home edition of the glasses, right? So that's about 12 to 15 different functionalities and so on. And it also offers an extended warranty for the glasses. So apart from just a 1 year warranty, you have a 2 year warranty on the glasses, and we also offer a choice of frames. So people can go ahead and add their own lenses to the glasses if they want to, and that retails at $3,499. Now, one key difference again with all these three editions, more so with the other two versus the professional edition, is we offer updates to the glasses for the first year in the Read and the Home edition for free. Right. So after the first year, people can go ahead and choose to receive updates on the glasses. I mean, I have to also mention one thing here is that people can still use the glasses even if they choose not to pay for updates. What people are paying for is just for the new features. So all the features that they have, been using so far, they still get to keep it. They still get to use it regardless of whether they pay, a fee for updates or not. So people can purchase these, yearly updates. We call them passes, and that is what we offer in the Read and the Home edition, where after the first year, people pay a yearly, fee to get access to new updates. And in the case of the professional edition, we offer the updates free for a lifetime. So people don't have to pay anything additional. With the professional edition, it's just a one-time cost. People pay that one-time cost. They get the glasses. They get an extended warranty period. They get access to the frames, and they also get access to a lifetime, updates along with the unit. So these are the three editions of the glasses that we have. And like I mentioned, apart from the glasses, we also have the Envision app, which is available on both iOS and Android. And people can just, go ahead and install that for free on an iPad or an iPhone or an Android device or an Android tablet and so on. And early next year, we're also going to be pushing out a version of Envision on the desktop as well. So people could use it on their browsers or their desktop if they choose to, please. Yeah.
Wow.
I have
so many
to
options.
add. I have one more thing to add. We actually launched earlier. So it's in trial. It's a subscription to the Envision glasses, so not the software, but the actual whole thing for $150 per month, and that's actually in the US only at this stage. So we're trialing that, and actually it's been quite successful for people who may not want to make the big cash outlay up front and just sort of pay for a few months. But also, we do this sort of 30-day trial and if you don't like it, you can send it back, because not all technology suits everybody, and you've got to sort of try these things. So it's just that other subscription edition, which is also available in the US only.
Wow, really cool. So just to wrap things up, if people want to check out your product or stay up to date with what you're doing, what are the best places to do that?
Yeah, check out our website. It's letsenvision.com. So that's LETSENVISION.com. And then there's a lot of, it's totally, of course, an accessible website, lots of information. But get onto any social media platform and look for our handle there at Let's Envision. And we try to be active there. And we do a monthly webinar as well, which is kind of cool. We market that everywhere. And that's meant to be sort of more than just a sort of product update, even though we go under the hood with Karthik and he always gets a sneak peek into what's coming down the pipe. But we also have some nice updates and guests and things like that on there. So I think out of all that, those are probably the easiest options.
Great. And social media?
Yes, social media. So we're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, and with our own channels, but we also, and YouTube. But we also have a community on those platforms, as well as the groups.io, and those are all under Let's Envision or Envision AI.
Great.
Amazing.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us. It's been absolutely fascinating.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thanks
so
for having
much.
us.
Yeah.
Yeah, anytime.